In a world where loyalty is everything, what happens when family becomes the ultimate political battleground? Today, we're diving into the surprising shift in the Marcos-Duterte alliance, one that's shaking the foundations of Filipino politics. Welcome to Sophia Sphere, where we dive deep into the world of politics, culture, and everything in between. I'm your host, Sophia, and today we're tackling a topic that hits close to home for many: loyalty, betrayal, and the delicate line between family and politics. Grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and let's get into it. It's funny, isn't it? The game of politics. You play your cards right, make the right moves, and sometimes everything falls apart. But here's the kicker. When you can't even trust your own blood, your own family, then what's left? And that's what we're looking at today. This story begins with Imee Marcos, who, just a few years ago, was one of the loudest and most visible defenders of her family's name. The same Imee Marcos who stood side by side with her brother Bongbong Marcos, fighting tooth and nail to restore their family's legacy. Today she's standing next to someone who threatened her brother's life and his father's grave. This is the story of how a woman went from being the fierce protector of her family to an ally of the very person who wanted to destroy everything she fought for. Let's rewind. She called out critics of her family's past, even positioning herself as the one who would restore honor to the Marcos name. In multiple public statements, she declared that her brother Bongbong was the rightful heir to lead the country, claiming it wasn't just a family's political ambition, but a national duty. She even went on to say, "Why should I be required to make a choice? Mahal ko silang lahat, ang ayoko yung nakakasira ng aming pangalan. So ipagtatanggol ko." We are not just fighting for the name of Marcos. We are fighting for a legacy of public service. We want to prove that our family's track record in governance is more than what has been written by the critics. This was the Imee we knew, the Imee who could have easily stood tall beside her brother and proclaimed their family's legacy in the face of national scrutiny. She was unapologetic, bold, and ready to battle any opposition to the Marcos name. But then, in 2024, something shifted. That year, Sara Duterte, in a series of statements, took aim at the Marcos family, not just with words, but with direct threats. She didn't just criticize Bongbong, she threatened to kill him, to desecrate the grave of their father, Ferdinand Marcos Sr. In a viral interview, Sara said, "I would not hesitate to strike against anyone who threatens the Duterte name. Even if it means threatening a Marcos or desecrating a grave, I would never back down." That's the woman Imee is now aligning with. Let's fast forward to today. Senator Marcos, after all these years of fighting for her family, now stands side by side with Sara Duterte. Not just any political ally, but the very woman who openly disrespected her brother and threatened to destroy their family's legacy. And what does Imee say? "I have no problem with Sara." No problem? This is the same Imee who, just a couple of years ago, was practically a warrior for her family's name. What happened? Imee's silence speaks volumes. And let's be clear, this is not a matter of strategy. It's not a move to unite the nation or any of the politically correct nonsense we've heard before. This is pure opportunism. This is Imee choosing political survival over family loyalty. If you can't stand up for your own blood, what does that say about your principles? What does that say about your capacity to lead a nation? If loyalty doesn't matter to Senator Marcos when her own brother is under attack, why would it matter to her when it's the Filipino people under the same kind of threat? There was a time when Imee Marcos was the defender of the Marcos legacy. She stood tall, unapologetically. She was the one who protected that name with everything she had. So what changed? What happens when power becomes more important than principle? What happens when survival, when ambition, is placed above family? When you can't even stand up for your own blood, what kind of loyalty are you really offering the people? Imee could have stood by her brother. She could have fought for the family name. But instead, she chose Sara. She chose her survival in the game of politics over everything else, over her own flesh and blood. Now think about this. If she can throw him under the bus for power, what does that say about her commitment to the people she serves? If blood means nothing to her, how can we trust that loyalty extends to a nation, the entire Philippines? Loyalty isn't a transaction. It's not a quick fix when things get tough. If you're willing to sacrifice your own family for power, what does that say about your leadership? The real question here is, if you can't protect your own, if you can't defend your own blood, what can you possibly do for the Filipino people? The message here is clear. If family means nothing, if loyalty can be so easily discarded, then what else is left? And what about those who trust you to lead? What about the people who voted for you? If you can't be trusted to defend your own brother, how can we trust them to defend you? It's easy to say that politics is a game of power, but real loyalty isn't found in alliances forged in silence. Real loyalty is standing up for what's right, even when it's your own family under attack. Real leadership is about protecting those who can't defend themselves, not abandoning them for personal gain. Senator Marcos had the chance to show us who she really is. Instead, she chose to smile for the camera, hand in hand with the very person who attacked her brother. Are family bonds really that important in politics? Or is it just about power and survival? That's it for today's episode here on Sophia Sphere. If you enjoyed this deep dive, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments below, because your perspective matters to us. Until next time, stay informed, stay classy, and keep shining. I'm Sophia, and I'll see you in the next one.